Well, hello, everybody. Hey, we got more people. Cool. I was going to say all one of you. I don't care. I was going to get this off my chest one way or the other. This guy is, he turns into a tiger, He's not terribly complicated. He looks really cool. He poses really nice. He's a really neat figure. He's got some car elements to tie into the bumblebee look. He was this is part of some concept art this guy came up with called T-Beasts that all these companies seem to be making use of without really giving them any credit. And that's not terribly cool. But I thought I'd talk about this thing. So this is MPM Starscream, available at your local Target. In the modern era of MPM figures being a bit of a mess, he's a bit more of a mess than most. He presents really well. He looks like the movie Starscream. He's pretty sweet. But he really fails when it comes to transformation and alt mode. So let's talk about that. So, as you can see, the robot mode looks awesome. It looks just like the movie. It's pretty stable. It's got ratchet joints in the legs. It's a little marred in the back because this clumsy transformation scheme they have has this big plate. These are basically linkages, but they're just wide linkages. They have no friction. I just don't think I can shoot this thing in stop motion. One of the big problems that doesn't lend itself to stop motion is the fact that to get this thing stitched back together into plane mode, you have to kind of juggle multiple parts at once. And so it's not like there's a move and then another move and then another move. It's like you got to it's like molding clay to get it back together. So I thought I'd just do on my live stream, for the sake of anyone that has this, how to get it back into plane mode. And, maybe back to robot mode, because I'm certainly not going to display it in plane mode. So without further ado, let's transform it. So the first thing we're going to do is we can take care of this little ornament here. It just kind of goes out of the way, flips forward. Hello. Flips forward and then flips over there. There's kind of a connection point here that lifts up and out of a slide. Now it doesn't really lock into the slide, so it likes to slide up out of it a lot. Just one of a million design flaws with this thing. Before I do that, though, before I turn this into a pile of parts, let me get the hands situated. The main thing to do is you are aiming for the forearms facing this way. We want to flip the thumbs all the way around like that. And then you're folding this thing down as much as possible. I feel like So you fold the hand in half. You might want to fold it at the wrist, but it's not the way it's supposed to be. You fold the hand in half. This is also how you add his weapons. We could touch on that real quick. This plugs into a slot in his hand, and then this plugs into a slot on the back of his forearm. And now we've attached that. We can also attach this one. Whee! And then that same slot in the forearm can also accept this Gatling gun that for some reason they felt compelled to put a rotating barrel on, like it matters. So we'll get that out of the way. Go back to continuing this process. So this fell out. It'll do that. It'll do that all the time, all day, every day. This thing is very floppy. One of the worst figures I had trouble with shooting or just even enjoying was Fans Toys Rouge or Rogue or whatever. This is way worse than Fans Toys Rogue. So that's how the hands are supposed to go. So we're going to lift this out again. Now this part, we flip it up and we flip this over here. There's a spring-loaded bit. It serves no useful purpose. Doesn't really even kind of cover up a gap very well, but it's there. And our goal is to, you want to fold the arm up as far as it will go. It has kind of a stop, and that's the position for the arm. And then this kind of slides in to a gap in the arm. And I'm forgetting a step, so let's just get that out of the way. This arm has a big floppy linkage that gets it out of the way, and now there's enough of a gap there for this to fit in. And that's ostensibly where it goes. It doesn't tab, it will constantly fall out. A big deal. You get this folded down. Good planning on the designer's part. I like to flip this up and just kind of get that out of the way. And then the tail fin comes around to this position. It doesn't quite touch this, it's just kind of part of the plane. It does that. And then once it's in this position, you can kind of jam this back in. There's a bit of a clearance issue there, but it goes in like that, and then you can kind of squeeze this and tighten it up like that. Then the arm, there's a little bit of an indentation there, and that's where it lines up. But the arm just kind of, it doesn't tab in, it's going to flop out constantly throughout the rest of this process, but this is ostensibly where it's supposed to be. And then we can kind of flip this up out of the way a little bit too. So we're going to do the same thing with this side. We get that articulated out. We separate this tab. We flip the arm up as far as it will go. And then this part, remembering the spring-loaded bit, this part nestles into that forearm there. This rotates around to here. You got to get this out of the way first, really. And then make sure you fold this up and tuck this in next to the wing there, and then just kind of squeeze this down a little bit. This side doesn't like to stay as easily. And then, like I said, the arm is supposedly there, but it's just constantly going to flop out anyway, so it doesn't much matter. And then this goes out of the way. And so now, I mean, you can see these are just all like frictionless, floppy things. It's unpleasant. This flips up a little bit, like this. This flips down, and then we can flip down the cockpit. It's kind of nice. There's like a little bit of an actual interior to the cockpit. You can't get to it in plane mode, but it's there. You flip up these tabs. You flip up these components here. This goes down and in, and then this flips back up. And then on the back, getting into some more stuff that's just going to be flopping all over the place, that untabs from there. And then this flips down. I'm forgetting a step because it already popped loose, but there are retaining tabs here that hold on to the backpack a little bit. They're like an afterthought. It's not a smart design. And then this untabs and flips down out of the way. And I like to keep the wings out of the way for now. Now this can flip up and over, and it kind of tabs in. There's a little bit of a friction tab there. And now we get into how to get the whole thing stitched together properly. I'm going to go ahead and do the legs just to get them done and out of the way. You'll see a lot of videos where people think they can just flip the legs out like first when you're coming from plane mode. It's not really true. I don't know why they present it that way, but it's not actually how it works. We can flip this up. These rotate 180 degrees. This joint pops loose. There's a little bit of a tab here, so it tabs in, but you just watch the knee pad here and you kind of collapse the leg down like that. We flip this up, rotate it 180 degrees. Then the foot, which again is just like this weird little goofy afterthought. It's got some really floppy articulated hinges here. It's only so you have enough clearance to get these toes past. I mean, God forbid they just like fold the toes or something. And then you basically collapse it back where it was, except the foot ends up at a 90-degree angle here. And it tabs in. This is actually die cast. I mean, some of the materials and the finish on this are kind of nice. This rotates in like this, and then we'll just do the same thing with the other leg. So it collapses. Bring this around. Flip this mess out. Flip it around, and then put it back. There is a little bit of a tab here, so you just have to make sure it actually engages. It's a little hard to get it to go sometimes. But if it's engaged, then this tab will line up easily. And then, like, I forgot to show this closing down, but this is up in robot mode and down in plane mode, if you want to call it a plane. It kind of looks like an F-22, but it's not. You'll see what I mean. So now the legs are packed away. It's just all... I mean, there's nothing standing on this thing. Now, if the legs could kind of be put away last, it wouldn't be so bad. Like, you could get the arms all arranged and then fold the legs in. But that's not actually how it goes. And I'll try to show you what I mean. I despaired of trying to figure out a way to show this in a stop motion context. But let's just... So this... That's in the way. So this flips up here to get out of the way here. Sorry, I'm having a brain fart. Oh my... Oh. This ended up getting totally thrown around the other side. So it's supposed to be like this. There's your fist. It's supposed to be... Everything is supposed to be like that. There's actually... this wing has a tab there. Actually goes in a slot there, but it will fall out repeatedly. But that's supposedly what's supposed to be happening. The fist goes in. Jesus. The fist goes in. The plan is to have it here. There's a slot in the back of the arm that's for like the accessories and stuff. But that is actually going to be captured by this tab here. So when you flip this down, you're going to end up pushing these tabs into these slots. And so the trick is to have the arms actually lined up properly and not off center. You can't really put the arms away completely until you start moving the legs. But that's going to get in the way over and over. I'm going to flip up the arm here. The other arm. And bring it in. And we're just kind of fighting it into position because you got to do all this at once. Make sure these tabs, these retaining tabs, are laying out flat, or they'll get in the way. All right, so we're kind of holding that in position. We're going to flip the legs around. So we want to get those in position, and at the same time, we want to push these into this gap where the legs are, like this. And it's got a tab. It's going to fall out all the time. Now the problem is, since this is the final position of the arms, this is where they're supposed to be, and the fists are supposed to be like, so it's supposed to look like this, and give you a good angle on it in case you're one of the poor unfortunates that has this. So you want to make sure those slots are like right at the back. If the hands are folded in the wrong place, then they're too long, they won't fit. This has to be in, but it totally prevents the legs from actually doing what so many reviewers try to show it doing. You can't just flip this down because these parts are jammed into where that hinge is for the legs. So you know, the legs won't actually go down with those jammed in like that. So anyway, that is the goal. And I'm just re-tabbing this as you must repeatedly. The tab doesn't actually stay in right. It's more of a guidance tab instead of a proper friction tab. It should have been a friction tab, but they didn't do that. So we're flipping this down. And like I said, these two tabs are going to go into the slots in the arms. I mean, it does hold together pretty well once you have it, but it's kind of a pain in the ass. I'm just going to flip up the tail fins to get them out of the way. These parts kind of notch in like that. It won't hold together quite right yet. I'm going to turn this around so I can maybe get this to go. I don't know why it's fighting me. Where are you? There's something binding right now, and I don't know what it is. There we go. So that tabs in there, like that. And then you can't really put these wings away until you get these nozzles out of the way. This flips up. These kind of zigzag in towards the middle. Make sure you actually get the armature to go with it so it's smooth on this side. And then you can tuck these in near the head. I don't bother putting it all the way down yet because everything's in the way still. This you have to kind of fight it past this. It would be a smoother transition if you did the wing first, but I promise you it's so much easier to get everything arranged properly without the wings in the way. But we're just going to bring the wing down. It'll just... I'm sorry. There's a little transformation to the wings I forgot. You flip out this flap. And these flaps are supposed to be like this in robot mode, just to match the CGI art. They're just these weird little ornaments. They don't do anything. They don't engage with anything. Anywho, so we'll go back to the top view here. Turn it over. So this goes, and there's like a slot here. Goes onto this T here. And so we're just going to get this lined up and tab it in. And then this bit has a slot, and it goes onto this tab, and it actually does kind of hold the wing together properly, so it's worth doing. So we'll do this one on this side. So we tab that in. All right, and then we're almost blessedly done. We want this still to be up a little bit. We're going to flip these down so that these tabs line up with these holes, and then we can press it down, and then we can go. Oh, look! It's like reminiscent of an F-22. You know, it's like enough to, like, if you look at it, if you kind of squint and you look at it, you go, oh, that's like an F-22. That's like an F-22 Raptor. But let's look at the side view of this supposed F-22 Raptor. Let's take out the very realistic landing gear, because that's exactly where the landing gear is on an F-22. You can ask my cousin. So there's the side view. There's a few things from the side view that don't look like an F-22 Raptor. I'll leave it to your imagination which things those are. Let's look at it from the bottom. That also does not look like a plane. And it's like, you would think in a movie masterpiece line, you would have something that transforms from a clean plane. I guarantee you, and I said this in my comments on the channel, I guarantee you if Unique Toys did this, it would be clean. Actually, I have this discombobulated. I'll see if I can fix it without taking the whole thing apart. Because there's actually a couple of tabs here that catch the front. Like that. Such as it is. This actually has to end up behind that, which is a pain in the ass. Alright, fine. Fine. Just lift this up a little bit. Put the foot away. And then re-tab it. There we go. That's floppy too. Everything's floppy. And the real sin here is, I mean, I've seen plenty of Hasbro Transformers where, you know, you're like, well, from the side it doesn't look like a plane, and from the bottom it certainly doesn't look like a plane, but at least from the top it looks like a plane. And, you know, truthfully, the top view comes closest to looking like a plane. But I don't think an F-22 has this sticking out on the sides. And I certainly don't think there's a bunch of crap sticking out here. Again, you could ask my cousin. He would know. and it's really a bit of a mess. I mean, it's plainly intended to be a very screen accurate robot mode without anyone having to go to any particular effort to design the transformation or have it look like the alt mode. It looks a lot like an F-22 without actually achieving it. All right. You Dorito. After this, do the 01 Studio Cell. I don't think I understand. I did a stop motion of the 01 Studio Cell, and I did a live stream of the 01 Studio Cell. So all you got to do is go find those videos in my channel, and you'll have them both. Why can't Hasbro ever produce a decent alt mode for aircraft transformers they produce, John? You know, one of the best ones I've ever seen, for at least for this movie line, Starscream, is they came out with a deluxe Starscream in the last old school wave of toys before Studio Series, and that was a nice little tidy, clean. It still didn't look like a F-22 quite from the bottom, but that was a pretty good design. They could have just upscaled it for Masterpiece, and I would have been happy. They did kind of upscale it because the Studio Series Starscream shares a lot of the engineering points from that deluxe Starscream. But that deluxe Starscream was actually pretty clean. But it rolls. Ooh. Tiki, thanks. Appreciate it. And since I will be displaying them in robot mode instead of whatever this is supposed to be, I'll transform them back into a robot, which is easier because it just kind of all falls apart and then you just kind of rearrange it into a robot. I mean, this thing is a parts former. It's only technically not a parts former. It does have some nice, let's look at the finish a little bit, but it's hard to see here, but it's almost dot matrix. What do you call it? Like newsprint comics. I'm trying to think of some modern thing that younger people would know, but it's been printed just like Cheetor was printed. So it's got an interesting printed color scheme on it. I'm sure they'll re-release this with the tattoo color scheme because why not? That will also look a lot like an F-22 without actually achieving the full effect. So much like we're just going to go backwards, so we're going to lift that up a little bit. We're going to flip these up, and we're just going to have that out of the way. It can flip up. Well, not the wings get in the way of those fake thrusters, those fake engine bits. So you have to get the wings out of the way first. We're going to untab these things, although they will easily come untabbed themselves, so no big deal. We can just flip them around. We're going to lift up the wings off of those T's and fight them past this lump here. Not the end of the world, but still, it's like a rub. Why rub? I mean, since we're messing with the wings anyway, we can flip these out of the way. They'll flip back, but at least we can fold the wing tips in. They'll just be there. And finally, we can kind of spread the legs a little bit. And like I said, you can't... I guess you can get the legs back a little bit, but it runs afoul of this bit. You can try to lift this whole bit up. It's a lot to manage at once, no matter which way you cut it. But you can flip this over and fold these down. Worry about that later. The legs can go a little further now, but they do bind with where those things are inserted in. So what you can do is just go ahead and pull those out. And now you can fold that joint all the way around. Flop, flop, flop. We can go ahead and rotate this around. We'll just do the legs. Hell with it. So we rotate. We flip them over. We untab this and flip up that. Flip up these, yank this out, fold them over, shove it back down. Stupid. Stupid design. Inelegant. And they probably could have found a way to work the legs, the feet around, and give like an extra point of articulation for the feet in the process. But I mean, what are these guys? Unique toys? No, it's just dumb old Hasbro. This does tab in. So that's ready to go. We can go ahead and flip this open, flip this around, and tab it. Like I said, there's not really a parts management. They just flop around until you get around to their final tabbing position. We'll just flip that down for now. We can flip the nose cone around, flip down the cockpit, flip down these ornaments here. You might be tempted for them to lay flat, but these tabs that you flip out actually kind of push them down a little bit. So they actually end up kind of at an angle. Flip up the head, put the cockpit back, and flip down the head. And now we can screw around with the arms. I had thought about, like how to manage this as best as I could. You can try to tab this like right away so that at least that's managed, but it's still real floppy. Get the arm out of the way. I'm not sure what's happening. I don't know what's going on. I think I've accidentally unplugged one of my monitors. Clever that I am. I don't have my phone. That's smart. Hey, I got my monitor back. Jesus Christ. Does it have to be everything? All right, let's not put my foot there again. How about? Alrighty. We can flip this up. So we're going to mess with this goofy ass armature. There we go. So we have to flip this up out of the way, rotate this up out of the way a little bit, and then this wing can flip around basically. Just flips around like 180 degrees. And then we can free this up, and the little spring-loaded thing pops out in the process. It goes blink. Pointless. We can articulate the arm down a little bit. This is supposed to fold over all the way, so just make sure you actually do. It's supposed to line up like that. All the way. And then you flip out the little tab and you slide it down into this unlocking slot. It just kind of hangs out there, unlocked. We'll worry about both arms simultaneously. We'll just get this shoulder done. So we flip this up, fight this past here, then this can flip around. This kind of just goes back where it was. We can separate this, the little thing springs out. We want to fold this all the way, so it's like that. And then it's going to be a little off screen here for a second. Flip out the tab, drop it into the slot. It's there now. We can worry about the backpack now. Just going to bring it up. We're going to find the slot here, this tab. It kind of sits out in an angle because it's so carefully planned. These retaining clips can go on here. They'll fall off, but you can put them there just to pretend that they're real retaining clips. And then you can arrange the engines. And then the arms flip up like this. You can flip this down and kind of arrange it however you want. However you like. I don't know. Doesn't seem like there's a proper way to do it. And this goes here. And you can mess with the hands. And it's funny, they went out of their way to make sure there was an actual wrist, because a lot of the earlier Starscreams didn't have proper wrists, so it was stuck with a hand in an odd position. But then they turn around and there is no bicep swivel, so there's no way to kind of angle the arm in. Like he couldn't put his hands on his hips because there's no way to change the angle of the elbow joint. And it's because they did that whole clumsy armature that he can't have a mid bicep arm swivel. That's him. We'll let him stand there for a few minutes so that maybe YouTube will decide that's the thumbnail for this video. Just gotta arrange it. Angle the camera up, get a nice picture of him. Like I said, he looks good, other than this big flat panel on his butt, because they couldn't even get robot mode perfect. Just in my opinion, kind of a lazy, embarrassing effort by Hasbro. I'm not going to even blame Takara for this. I don't feel like Takara's engineers are much involved in the MPM series. I know it's still a little while till it comes out, but do you think you'll be buying the MP Tigatron? I'm not going to get Tigatron. It's, you know, all of these things are a lot of money, and Tigatron transforms pretty much like Cheetor. It shares a lot of design in common with Cheetor. I mean, it looks cool and all, but I'm not a big Beast Wars fan, so to pick up another mold that's basically very similar to a previous mold doesn't appeal to me. So I won't be picking up Tigatron. The next thing I'll be getting in the actual MP line will be RC. And then, of course, MPM, there's Ratchet is coming out. And that's another bit of laziness, because Ratchet, you know, it's a four-wheel drive vehicle with, like, no ground clearance, because they put the whole robot, like, between... they put too much robot, like, between the wheels. So just like MPM Ironhide, there's no ground clearance. It's a 4x4 vehicle. It's an off-road vehicle with zero ground clearance, because they're not unique toys. They can't figure it out. So... that's probably as much as you're going to get on Starscream. I can't really even think of a way to stop motion transform that without it just, you know, jiggling and laying on the platform flat and just having parts jiggling around. You know, there's just no clean way to do it. And there's probably, you know, quick transform videos that can give you an idea, but hopefully I've illuminated some of the... it's hard to get the legs bent the same way on both sides. Boy, Starscream in the movies went out like a punk too, didn't he? Like a 180-pound human being killed him. It's just dumb. Michael Bay was like, yeah, it'd be really cool. I guess I'm feeling cynical today. This thing makes me feel cynical. Tell you what doesn't make me feel cynical is I do have the new MMC all built-in Bruticus Blastoff they call Volantis. And it's a lovely bit of engineering. It turns into a space shuttle that's maybe a little too long for a space shuttle, but no big deal. It turns into a clean space shuttle, unlike this thing. It turns into a robot that looks like Blastoff, very nicely done. And it turns into a great arm. And I'm really looking forward to getting the final piece of that set and just having the whole thing in its glory. I have to figure out where I'm going to display it, because it won't fit in the DTOF. I mean, I could buy some of those extensions from somebody, but I'll be looking forward to the RC in that case. Yeah, I mean, it's Takara. It'll be a nicely designed piece, and it'll hold its position mid-transformation. And you might think that's like related to my stop motion, but before I was doing stop motion, I was sitting around transforming the figures. I'm always fascinated by the transformation process. And it's always so pleasant to have a figure where as you transform it, it'll just hold every millimeter of the transformation. It'll kind of hold that position. And I always, you know, kind of OCD, I would transform things, and then the study the figure and try to figure out like the cleanest way to like just move one piece at a time and not have to move multiple pieces, or have to move a piece out of the way just to park it and move it back. I like a design that, you know, when you move a piece, you can just move it to its final position and you're done with that component. And the Starscream's kind of the opposite of that. You know, it's all floppy. It doesn't hold any of its mid-transformation positions. It's just flopping all over the place. And that last bit, when you go back to plane mode, where you have to kind of juggle multiple parts at once to get them to line up, is just unpleasant. It's not a good transformation, not a good design. And the stop motion really just came from, you know, if you're going to be transforming a figure and coming up with the best way to transform it, like one little step at a time, then why not take pictures of it while you're doing it? That way I don't have to look at the manual ever again. I can just look at a video, and you people can enjoy that too. Hopefully he doesn't fall over. I don't know that I'd miss him. I'll transform this guy since we're sitting here. He's got a fun little transformation. You put the fists away, and you take off the little rocket packs. You can take off the tail too, but there's no need to do that. You can just get it out of the way. You have to put his face visor down. There's a little bit of a rub there as you do it. He's very dynamic, very posable. I'm just going to straighten everything out real quick. I like to get the arms up out of the way. We can go ahead and do the tiger legs, just flipping it around. The fist will actually collide with that thing, so the way it's supposed to be lined up is the fist is supposed to end up just under it. And there's two different sets of tabs here. So in one position it goes into the one slot, and in the other position it ends up in the other slot. It's a little loose. This is a die-cast part. There's a number of die-cast parts on this. But that's basically it. That's the cat leg. Rotate this around. And then this flap kind of covers up that hole. Isn't it nice? Like, I'm mid-transformation and it just holds that position. That's nice. That's what it should be. You kind of pry these off. It's a little bit of parts parking because you're basically just opening these up to free up the space, and then you're just closing them up again, but I'll cut it a little slack. This flips out. It's on a multiple armature, but notice it just holds its position. I had a little trouble with these ankle joints, so I tightened them up with a little super glue, but for the most part, mid-transformation, this thing holds its position nicely. You have to flip these up out of the way. Again, it's a little more parts parking because you're just getting them out of the way for the transformation and then putting them right back, but oh well, no big deal. You flip this down to the middle and then put these back down on either side of it. And then this kind of seats down on that spine bit. And then we flip the panther head up and rotate it around. It seems like this flip-flop joint here, it's just got a single screw holding it together. I could see that being weak, so just be careful with that if you have this. And then once everything is open like this, you can slide this whole bit up. So the head ends up down in the chest a little bit. And then the tiger head just kind of sits down. Wow, I just noticed that. I'm a fool. I did that whole video and I didn't realize until just now there's little panels that flip out that can help flesh out the tiger's head. I think they're supposed to be, this would be for tiger mode, right? They're a little hard to get out though. It doesn't want to go past that that joint there. But it looks like they flip out. I wouldn't bother with it. I didn't realize it was there. This rotates too, but you're rotating against another one of those little single screw joints, so just be aware that you could break the joint that way. Just be careful with it. We got to rotate the whole tail itself into position. And then once all this is here, you can put these back into position. 1 and then 2. And they kind of tab in. And then the legs, just going to bring them down, rotate them 180 degrees. Get this out of the way. Flip this around. Zigzags here. And then this hole here kind of catches the knee joint there, so you have to make sure it lines up there. And then it tabs here. It doesn't tab perfectly because it's a die cast part, the toe, so it has its limits. Just do the same thing over here. Zigzag, free that, rotate that, get that down, and tab it. And then for some reason there's like a little black thing here that you can flip out. I have no idea what that's for. It doesn't seem to serve a purpose for either mode, and so I don't bother with it. But you can flip these toes down like this. Of course, flip the arms and rotate them appropriately in a cat-like way. And then bring the tail down a little bit. Then boom, you get yourself like a tiger thing. Then in a lot of ways is a cleaner, more elegant transformation than Optimus Leo Convoy by Takara. It's a nice little clean transformation. I like it. Yeah, I mean, if MPM can do anything, they can at least make the robot mode look like the movie figure, even if they're doing a clumsy transformation and blowing it on the alt mode. Anyway, that's all the time I got, I guess. That's all I got to talk about. I'll give you a couple of minutes with the delay and everything to raise any questions you might have, any queries or ponderings or statements you would like to make, those of you still watching. And then I'll be signing off, and this Sunday we will see the brilliantly designed and quite lovely MMC Volatus. Fantastic figure, fantastic line, fantastic company. Ocular Max is just the next best thing to getting a Takara, and in a lot of ways it's even better than that. Although Transform Element is making some good inroads and making good G1 figures. I appreciate everyone stopping by. Well, I suppose there are no final queries or quandaries or preguntas. I'll be signing off. Everyone have a good evening. Have a good the rest of the week. Look for Volatus on Sunday and a discussion of Volatus next Wednesday for the live stream. Thank you and good night.